Janet Mills is expressing frustration with lawmakers, many from her own party, who've been meeting this week to decide which of 200 or so bills the legislature passed will get state funding.
The governor and others in her administration say the Appropriations Committee has a spending problem and is using budget gimmicks. News on Maine's Caroline LaCour joining us live in studio to explain what the committee is doing and how this could all affect taxpayers. Hi, Caroline.
Brian and Amanda, it's a difficult task every year for lawmakers to determine which issues should see a portion of that state funding. Many say they're proud of what they accomplished at this week's Appropriations Committee meeting, but others, including the governor, say decisions made by committee members are bringing the state budget to its breaking point.
It's 9-2. The motion carries.
After the Appropriations Committee approved spending bills this week, lawmakers, including Committee Chair Melanie Sachs and House Speaker Rachel Talbot Ross, celebrated what they called strategic investments that will address immediate needs in our communities. Several crucial issues were left to the special appropriations table to fund, like supporting African American and Wabanaki studies, investing in free health clinics, and more, which also received committee support.
When the funding runs out, it runs out.
But after the committee approved dozens of spending bills, Department of Administrative and Financial Services Commissioner Kirsten Figueroa released a statement noting Governor Janet Mills' disappointment. They accused the committee of choosing not to heed the governor's, quote, serious concerns about protecting the state's long-term fiscal sustainability, noting they approved spending more than the $11.4 million available to them, in part by using budget gimmicks like stripping fiscal notes, delaying effective dates, and raiding other special revenue accounts.
In the next session, when we come in and it's time to craft the biennial budget, all of that policy that you moved off the table with no fiscal note to back it up becomes a problem.
All of the bills are headed to the Senate just as lawmakers gear up for Friday's veto day. A spokesperson of the Senate Majority Leader Troy Jackson tells News Center Maine the use of special revenue accounts isn't uncommon. And in fact, the kind of spending approved by the committee is exactly what they're for. Members of the committee, like Republican Representative Dak Ducharme, agrees, but says the money will eventually run out.
Well, we either have to spend the money that the policy dictates, or we have to eliminate the policy.
Now, not all members of the committee agreed on the spending bills. Republican Senator Rick Bennett also criticized the decision-making process. But committee chair Senator Peggy Rotundo, a Democrat, says there's a finite amount of funding available for the large number of bills on the special appropriations table. And as a result, legislative leaders have to prioritize based on need and cost. She says this week's votes reflect on that. Lawmakers will now be back in Augusta tomorrow to take up the spending bills, as well as consider whether to try and override any of the governor's vetoes. Brian and Amanda, back to you.
A lot to make sense of. Caroline in our studio tonight. Thank you.